Hey there, Jen here. I know you're on a black screen. Let me share something with you. I don't always want to show my face on videos. I just don't want to get back into that vanity thing where I'm always worried about my hair, if my face looks okay, or wrinkles and all that. I came from that place and God cleaned me up from that, so I'd rather not go back to that. So I hope you don't mind not being able to see my face this time. Let me pull up the video and make sure everything's running, and then we'll get started. We'll jump right into things. I know everybody's excited to hear the rest of the Hopi prophecies. Maybe not excited, maybe that's a strong word, but folks seem to be wanting to see that. So let me make sure that you guys can see the screen that I'm sharing with you. Okay, I see it on my screen, but I'm not seeing it when I go into the actual video. Let me try again. There we go. Okay. So this is where we left off with the Hopi prophecies, but right before I sat down to start this video, I found something else. Now, most of us can agree at this point that the Hopi prophecies rather line up with biblical prophecies. Now, I've also seen some people saying that this rainbow warriors prophecy was just created for purpose of evangelizing. Well, if you dig a little deeper into that, the evangelizers notice the biblical commonalities, and then somebody wrote a book on that. So we might get into that a little bit tomorrow, just, digging into the actual root of the prophecy. But right now, we're just going to take these things at face value because the evidence is rather overwhelming. But if you want to look at it, I will give you the information and you can look into that. But what I found today, and I'm going to bring this up real quick, I don't know which we'll look at first. If anyone shows up, you all can tell me what you prefer. We're going to do this. Whoops. Did that wrong. Hang on. There we go. I'm going to bring up another screen for you and show you something else. Now, I had just done another search. I just wanted to see who was talking about what regarding these prophecies, to see if anyone else was noticing any of these things seeming to have commonalities with other prophecies, and to see if anyone else noticed that these things do in fact seem to be happening. The prophecies do in fact seem to be true. Let me make sure that this is showing for you, that you guys can see what I'm sharing here. Now I see it again, once again, I see it. There we go. So this is Thoth. And Thoth, if you don't know who he is from the Egyptian era. He is a prophetic archetype of Christ. He also allegedly resurrected, and they talk a lot about this resurrection chamber when you read about him. We read about him on the other channel. I don't know if we had gotten into his character at all in this and how he is symbolized throughout our realm. But if you look at this picture, which is actually quite epic, I like iconography. And almost in every icon, you see them making some hand gesture. Now, let's please also remember that we do have people who use sign language to speak, so we don't want to demonize every hand gesture. We want to look at the fruits and the source of where it's coming from. But for the purpose of this video, we're going to take a look at something somebody mentioned in another thread. They said that the prophecies of Thoth were similar to the Hopi prophecies. So we're just going to briefly take a look at a couple paragraphs of this and then toggle back to the Hopi and see if that's true. See if there is, in fact, a theme across cultures and faith systems that ties biblical cosmology and prophetic utterings to the Hopi prophecy and the prophecies of Thoth. So that is the purpose and why I'm bringing this up alongside the Hopi today. So somebody was very nice and put all this together for us on Reddit. So let's see what it says. It says, there will come a time when it will seem that the little g gods, higher powers, or ancient wisdom have abandoned the earth, the land of Egypt, modern civilization. Now they're taking liberties there. So again, take the things in parentheses with a grain of salt, and always, Take things back to the Holy Spirit, pray on them, meditate on them. That means let them marinate in the back of your mind and see if they ring true in your heart, in your body, mind, soul, and spirit. Do they resonate with you? It might be New Age language, but it is a truth that can be found. And Christ tells us much of these same things. My goal is not to be divisive. There are enough voices like that. My goal with this channel is to show us that, yes, we do have an enemy, but we have more in common than we have different, and that we have a common enemy. And that just because we might have grown up in different places of the world in different years and raised by very different people doesn't mean we cannot come together for the sake of our civilization, and dare I say our societal structure. So there will come a time when it will seem that the little g gods have abandoned the earth. The land of Egypt, which was once home of the divine, will be deserted and desolate. The sacred teachings, the wisdom and knowledge that guided humanity, will be forgotten, and the people would no longer honor the gods, little g gods, abandon timeless values and spiritual principles. So this person is relating the little g gods to values and spiritual principles. And the Hopi are much the same in that they believe that the rituals that they do on the solstices, the dances that they do, and how they honor the Lord above this what and they call it different things. They call it spirit of the earth. How they honor God and God's different attributes might look different than our rituals, but it's actually quite beautiful. And I did show you yesterday some information on cannibalism, but remember, there are two sides to this story, and we have a common enemy. So if you missed what I just said, you might want to go back just a minute or two to understand the goal of why I do this and why I bring up different cultural items together at the same time. Okay? So now, this does go along with what the Hopi prophecy was saying. And if you read Revelation, now, Revelation, the problem with the book of Revelation is that it's very short. You can have one sentence separating another sentence, and that one period could signify 100 years in between this part of the prophecy and the next. And it seems like we're missing them. Let's just say Revelation is very vague and very general in some things, right? Now, but if you expound upon them, if you use logic and reason, you can see that the themes of Revelation are telling us that the things that occur in the earth, though they are cyclical, our behaviors are somewhat cyclical too. And every time we start to forget who we are, what we're doing here, what we're supposed to be doing here, and how we should be operating, every time we forget that, it not only affects our individual temples or bodies or souls or spirits or minds or hearts, but it affects those around us too. You have that butterfly effect. So far, this does line up with the Hopi prophecies and biblical prophecy. So we're just going to read the end of this paragraph and the next one, and then we will toggle back to the Hopi itself. All right. So it says, the home of the temples. Oh, they will no longer remember the mysteries of the cosmos, the deeper understanding of existence, or the divine wisdom that the ancients cherished, the timeless truths that guided past civilizations. Egypt, the home of temples and shrines, places of knowledge and culture, where the little g gods once walked among men, where humanity once lived in harmony with wisdom. And I would relate that to the Watchers when they taught us things they were supposed to be teaching us, and we were supposed to be learning from them before things got too convoluted. The holy rivers will run dry, natural resources will be depleted, the fields will become barren, the land will no longer be fertile, reflecting environmental degradation. The air will be polluted, mirroring today's ecological crises. The sacred Nile, the symbol of life giving forces such as nature and progress, once a giver of life, will cease to flow. Human innovation and prosperity will stagnate, and the land that was fertile and abundant will become a wasteland. Modern society will face decline. Men will no longer look up to the heavens. People will lose their connection to higher ideals and aspirations. They will be consumed by the material world and their own desires, obsession with consumerism, and personal gratification. They will forsake the higher truths, ignore the principles of wisdom and justice, and embrace false teachings, embrace deception and superficiality. I would relate that to hedonism too, the love of self, right? And there's nothing wrong, like you should take care of yourself, absolutely. But when you get to the point that everything you're doing around your day revolves around just you, your body, toning, exercising, working out, looking in the mirror, pruning, whatever you want to call it, grooming, all of these things. Just like I said earlier, I don't want to always show my face because I don't want to get lost in that place of vanity again. And usually, vanity does not come from self love, it comes from a place of lacking, right? You have low self-esteem. You value you place little value on yourself. So we deny, it says, denying the divine presence, refusing to acknowledge deeper meaning and purpose, morality and righteousness. And see, here's the key here, and this is across the board. This goes with the Egyptian prophecies of Thoth, however you say his name properly, I apologize. And it also goes along with biblical prophecy and what we're about to bounce back and read of the Hopi. Morality and righteousness will be abandoned, ethical decay will follow, and chaos will rule where order once flourished. Society will descend into disorder and confusion. Now remember, God is orderly. So when they say like that these people like the Freemasons, they want to create order out of disorder or order out of chaos. That's actually a godly principle. But again, as usual, it's wrapped up in a lie. It tells you that you are the highest authority. The problem with that is that we each have different ideas of what utopia would be. And some people are only on wickedness all of the time. So their idea of utopia would be oppressing and repressing others, where someone like me or you, our ideas of utopia would be abundant resources and food for everybody on every tree, something like that. It says the gods, little g, and he relates gods as timeless truths or guiding principles whose voices once guided men, the forces of wisdom that directed humanity. And remember, the Bible says that wisdom is a female attribute, will leave the earth. Humankind will reject the wisdom that once illuminated their path and return to the heavens. Higher knowledge will be out of reach. Egypt, modern civilization, or we could call it Babylon, will be left alone, and the wisdom that once flowed through the land like water, the knowledge and understanding that sustained society, will vanish, leaving behind ignorance and darkness. Society will be engulfed in confusion and decline. The people will be blind to the divine, blind to what truly matters, and will not seek the truth. They will be indifferent to deeper wisdom. The world will seem empty of the sacred. Society will lose its sense of meaning and purpose. I just said that in one of the last streams about how reverence and holding each other as sacred beings, right? And everything as our privacy, our marriage, our relationship with our spouse. By gossiping with our girlfriends, for example, we're not showing that our marriage is sacred. And just the same goes for men. Locker room talk about your wife or disparaging talk is not holding your marriage in a sacred light. And nothing good can come of that. Only bad fruit or spoiled results, rotten results, will come from things like that. It says, but one day, when the time is right, the divine wisdom may return to those who seek it. And the Bible says a very similar thing: you must seek it. Future generations may rediscover the lost knowledge, which I think is happening now because knowledge is going to and fro. But again, you want truthful knowledge. The gods may once again walk among men. Timeless principles may be restored, but only when humanity is ready to remember and reclaim the truths they once held. Only when people are prepared to seek and embrace what was forgotten. So then they put the original there. It says sections 24 through 26 show like they might have been copy and pasted several times. Okay, so then we get into you must not remain ignorant. A time will come when it will appear that the Egyptians paid respect to divinity with faithful mind and painstaking reverence to no purpose. All their holy worship will be disappointed and perish without effect, for divinity will return From earth to heaven and Egypt will be abandoned. The land that was the seat of reverence will be widowed by the powers and left destitute of their presence. When foreigners occupy the land and territory, not only will reverence fall into neglect, but even harder, a prohibition under penalty prescribed by law, so called, will be enacted against reverence, fidelity, and divine worship. Then this most holy land, seat of shrines and temples, will be filled completely with tombs and corpses. So let's bounce now over to the Hopi prophecy. Let me make sure that it shares with you all. Hopefully it's a seamless. There we go. Okay. So this is where we left off yesterday, and it's telling us the prophecies that are current, that may be happening now. Okay. And then we'll get to the future, the things that they don't think have happened yet. But that's where you get a little hazy because personal interpretation comes into play there. Excuse me while I take a drink. Okay. Okay, so it says children and even grown-ups will forget their language. That's wild to me because I shared something when Rona began in 2019. I shared a old Twilight Zone episode where the man and I just shared a clip of it. I'll look for it and share it again today if as long as I can remember. But a man was the only one who still spoke English. He woke up one day and everybody, the words meant something else, like pizza meant kid, of course, very weird, right? But and dog meant house, and just all these different random things. And he was the only one that still spoke quote unquote proper English. So he was the outcast because he couldn't understand people and they couldn't understand him. And that was very sweet because his family still accepted him and he stayed with his family. But I often thought that that's what happened at the beginning of Rona. Now they're scrubbing the internet, so I have not been able to find it. But if you look up Agenda 2030 and you look up the plan for Event 201, you should know what these things are by now. Um, it tells you right there in the plan that one of the aspects of the plan, one of the little sub I don't even know what you would call it, but it said we will change the language and invert all things so that by the time they figure it out, it will be too late. It read a lot like the Covenant of the Fallen, if you ever read that. And again, I've read these things on the channel. From time to time, I bring them back around because you never know who will need to hear that information, who it will be new to. So the Hopi prophecies say children and even grown-ups will forget their language. Intermarriage with other tribes and races will deplete the identity of what we are. Now you're seeing this already in America. They tell us it's a good thing that we are a melting pot, that we welcome everything. And I'm not and I don't say racist because we're all one race. Well, humanity anyways. Um so I don't like that word. I think it's a misnomer to begin with. But I do believe that we should maintain our cultures now that I am with somebody I'm unequally yoked with, and my values came into play when I had children and I could go nowhere else with my children. I wanted them to have a father. I made a lot of compromises for my own culture. And this, again, America says it's the great melting pot and we welcome everybody. At least that's how my generation was raised. But it's done us a disservice because most of our cultures, we're all blended now. There is no one culture. So most of our cultures are going to die out within the next generation or two, which is why you're seeing this push for new babies and all this. So anyway, all these things have been foretold repeatedly by our elders who taught us to beware that Bahana, which is like, I guess the biblical equivalent to Gentile, education would lead us into pitfalls which we will never escape. Hopi prophecies that if in the name of progress we link ourselves with a culture not our own, it will be difficult to regain what we have discarded. And that's what I was just talking about. Like somebody like me who doesn't have any roots and doesn't know like where I came from, it's detrimental at this point in my life when it would be beneficial to have someone just to have someone. Um, because you have no one to talk to. You have no one to lean on. You have no one to tell your dreams to. You have no one to listen to help out with their problems. So what happens toward the end will be the consequences of our carelessness. And this is the thing, there's a reason for guidelines and rules and laws. The creator, the natural law that we have, if we follow it, that is how we will be greatly and abundantly blessed, and that is how we will be the most content and most happy. But we have been raised by progeny of the fallen, I totally believe. We've been raised by Nephilim and by Rephaim. And they did that on purpose. They've turned us into Goyim. And there's nothing else really to say about it. It was all done intentionally. And so many people want to be like them. They want to be on the screen. They want to be famous. They want to have stuff and things without realizing that you will be happy if you are operating and functioning in the way that you were created to function. So it says, as was predicted in recent years, many problems have begun to form. They said that this would come to pass when we get hooked into a lifestyle that's not ours. I find that a lot with myself. I am in disagreement in my mind with the way that I am living, and I don't know how to reconcile that, which is why I'm always open to correction and advice to a certain point. Along the way, the people in the world will change. Factions will develop in Hopi land. The Hopi must search for and choose the path which will best satisfy his ideal way of life. So you must seek and you must make a choice, or else you'll choose by default and passive consent, and the choice will be made for you. The time will come when many of us will put material laws above the Great Spirit's laws. Now, what does that mean? Material laws above the Great Spirit laws. That would be, for example, um, them banning planting, right? Growing your own food. Well, that's kind of our mandate. We were mandated to be caretakers and to create abundance over the face of the earth and to tame the wildlife and the plants and all that. So if they make it illegal to do things like that, to live naturally, right? That's when you're putting man's laws above the creator's laws. It says, yet in time of need, the wealthy, the poor, and the disbelievers will abandon those things and cry out to the Great Spirit for help. The Great Spirit is the true God, the creator maker. Is when they're talking about this Great Spirit, they mean the Father Spirit, the Great Spirit, the one, the source of everything. So these issues of keeping or abandoning the original Hopi law may actually be the fulfillment of our prophecy that one must pay or one must not. And let me stop here for just a moment. It says Hopi law, right? But let's consider at one point in time, we all lived that way. We all lived off the land. We all were farmers or foragers or animal husbandry, the right way. Um, we all did these things, we're shepherds. So it's not just Hopi law. Replace that Hopi law with creator's law or natural law, okay? Because all they're talking about here, to help you relate a little better, all they're talking about here is more natural sustain us. It never was meant to. And you're going to see this transfer, and people who didn't have money will suddenly have a lot of money or whatever, digital coins, whatever, but it won't be good because that's how God's children will become corrupted. And this is why I speak against cryptocurrency and these things. And I'm not against success for a child of God, but we have to reframe our adage of success. How many horror stories do we need to hear come out of Hollywood and out of LA and out of New York to understand that that is not for us? Not everything is for everyone. And when we enter into the system of the enemy, it is a deck set against us, so to speak. We will lose, just like Pinocchio and his friends when they got trafficked and went to Adventure Island. Okay, so these issues of keeping or abandoning the Hopi law or natural law, one must pay or one must not. The prophecy foretells that Bahana would be very persistent and eventually might force his way upon us. But should he reconsider and correct his mistakes, he would then decide who will pay and who will not pay. So it's saying one must pay or one must not. That is the deficit that we create to nature when we do certain things. So, for example, let's say you're living off the land, right? And you need to dig a well, and you need to dig a cistern to go to the bathroom. Say you know nothing, all right, just for the sake of this argument. You're going to dig your well right next to your potty. You don't want to do that. You're going to end up paying for that in the long run because you're going against natural law by doing those two things next to each other. And these are things we used to know. When I read the Gospel Essene Book of Peace, it tells us very clearly not to use fertilizer. And think about that for a minute. Why are we putting waste where we're going to grow food? Just think about that. And think about all the poo emojis everywhere. You can even get a poo pillow and put it on your bed. This that is anti-human. That is demonic. There's no other word for it. So we have to stop learning from these ones who are purposely and intentionally miseducating us, the fallen watchers and their progeny. And even the Hopi know it. For the Hopi, it is the enemy of the medcial. All right. I forget what his name is, but they'll tell us again in a little bit. The prophecy foretells that Bahana would be very persistent. But if we correct our ways, and this is, again, think of the man in the suit going to the farm. You must have electricity. You need to be on the grid. You need to be on the grid. And they're not paying up till now. And sure, they get a few extra conveniences, but now they're paying money. Now they're getting a bill. Now they have to have an address too. And they once just was a happy family on a farm, living their land, on the end of a dirt road. You get tied up into the system, and it's not a system that is set for us to quote unquote win or succeed at. Our prophecies foretell that times will come when we will periodically recover our senses and find that some vital element is amiss. Then we will retrace our steps with fear, not bearing to look back at where we have been. And what would we call that if you're a Christian? This would be repenting, changing your mind, right? That's exactly what that would be. So it says, you change your mind, and so we will go forward, backward, our decisions uncertain. This is happening today in Hopi land and is happening in the rest of the world. And that's the problem, is we recognize that we do something wrong, so we have to backpedal, right? We have to backtrack, which is a waste of some time, but it's a learning process. But the problem is then, as the Bible says, going back to your own vomit or going back to that same mistake. Learn from our mistakes and not repeat them. But there is something to be said for the way we consume and what we consume. It makes us blind. We forget who we are for periods of time. So it says just 2 or 3 righteous people will be able to fulfill the Creator's mission. Wow. And with Noah, what was it? It was just 8. Only 8. So time passes on and the prophecies of our ancient people begin to unfold. Many great events lie before us, and we are witnessing with astonishment today the fact that our ancients were right. Live long, for there are great and exciting adventures awaiting us. Chapter 7, Prophecies Present and Future. So this is for things that are still yet to come or are happening now. It says the following contains a prophetic warning for us to be aware of during changing times. The warning is clear, but sadly most of us ignore it because of the temptation of new ideals. Now again, please take in mind that this was written in the mid to late 90s. We think we are ready to compete with the outside world because of some know-how we learned through education by the Western culture. No, how that we believe we will bring prosperity and comfort. How long will this last? According to prophecy, the Bahana government will gradually cease responsibility in caring for Native people. Let me make sure we're still alive here. I guess nobody wanted to hear that. Everybody always leaves when things get a little hard. According to prophecy, the Bahana government, that's our government, the United States government, will gradually cease their responsibility in caring for Native people. The government will release us from their protective arms, wanting us to be on our own feet, wanting us to be just like any citizen in the country, wanting us to become civilized quickly and join the mainstream of the American way of life. In this way, their responsibility over Indians will end. There would be no more Indian problem. Any mistakes we make would be our own doing. The Bahana government would not be responsible. Their influence would linger on in making sure we run our government the Bahana way, not by our traditional ways. And I was checking the Hopi website yesterday, and they do have a local government. And I was just wondering, like, there's no spiritual leader or elder listed at all. Like, where is there? The whole thing is supposed to be about spirit, and I couldn't find anything like that. No, now I could find healthcare, and apparently the big C has hit them really badly since Rona, and I've told you about that. They tell you it's a cure, and it's the cause. Okay, that's what you're seeing now. All these people with the big C, that came from what happened in 2019. You don't have to believe me. I'm not a medical professional. No part of this is advice. These are my logically well educated. This is what I know from the life I've lived. Okay. Hopi Prophecy says that if we link ourselves with a culture not of our own, the situation will develop that it will become difficult to regain what we discard in the name of progress, just like I said, unequally yoked. Of course, we can continue to practice what we lose, but it will have lost its value. What happens toward the end will be the consequences of our carelessness. According to our ancient prophecies, some day along our path we will arrive at the point of confusion because of the fast life due to the change from good to bad. So there's that confusion again. And who is the author of confusion? Real quick, let's toggle back over here to Thoth, because did we not just read that in the Toth, Toth prophecy as well? And it says here, we will lose our wisdom and we will be in ignorance, right? We will be blind to the divine, right? And I do think it said confusion. Morality and righteousness will be abandoned right there. Society will descend into disorder and confusion. So again, you're seeing across cultures and across time that individuals were receiving and are receiving the same prophecies and messages, just like so many of us are today. I have done my level best on 2 channels with a combined, I think, about 400,000 views, but what does it matter? People don't want to hear these truths. They start listening and they click off the video because they don't want to hear that they need to change their behavior. But then when something bad happens, we will all cry out and say, why has God forsaken us? But all we had to do was change what we were doing. You see, we are affecting the environment. Fracking, all these things that everybody is like saying, drill, 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 dig, dig, dig. It's causing great disturbances in the land beneath us. This is why we've built upon cities and upon cities and upon cities, and nobody thinks about it because, oh, well, it's just numbers. But one day it will be people you love stuck in the debris. It will be you or I, and who will be there to help get us out. So, again, if we can change our habits, our daily habits, what can you do? Drive a little less, use a little less gas, walk or bike, which is better for your health as well. You won't need health care, you won't need as much gas and oil, and you will get exercise, and you'll meet more people in your neighborhood that way. These are just little things. Recycle what you can. But best of all, try not to buy things that are plastic. Buy things in bulk that come in the large containers that you can refill. Use glass or colored glass, which is really good for foods and liquids to be stored in. Use mason jars. Get creative, right? Build a doghouse out of pop bottles and water bottles. Make art. But we must do something, small changes every day. Oh, Prospering with sickle cell anemia says we can use steam engine power. I've always loved that idea. Water, geothermal, absolutely. And it's so natural. Windmills and solar. And what are they called when they're in the water? We have a mill right up the road. I absolutely love that idea. I think it's awesome. And I personally think we should go back to trolleys. I'm from Pittsburgh, and Mr. Rogers was big there, and they have the Pittsburgh trolley right now again. But roads were wider. People were more able to move around. The cities weren't as congested. They were just aesthetically more pleasing, which is actually keeps the rate of depression down as well. But I'm not a doctor, and this is not advice. He says dams and hydroelectric. Yes, absolutely. And that I believe is what star forts are. People like their dams and things like that, I think anyways. Okay. So let me continue. I don't want to lose everybody and make people upset. According to our ancient prophecies, someday along our path, we will arrive at the point of confusion, right? Just as in our previous worlds, the lives of people and the leaders will become corrupted by greed and power. Honesty and truthfulness will wane. How many of us live a lie just to work in the system? How many of us wear a mask, hide a part that we are, deny a part of ourselves just to be accepted in the workplace? Well, I can't tell them I'm a Christian, then they'll think I'm a Bible believing idiot, Bible thumper, and they'll think that I'm always judging them, which is actually seems to be true lately. People think that way. We have these preconceived notions, and we have to stop that. We have to stop judging so much and so harshly. We're supposed to judge righteously. And that doesn't mean what most people think it means, but let's move on. This will affect our children, who will hassle us with nagging and annoyance, which will finally cause mental distress, resulting in failure of our health, perhaps to our graves, because we become worrywarts. Many other things, and that's a sin. Like, worrying is a sin. My mother worried all the time. I don't really worry. I just give it to God at this point. And people say, well, how do you do that? How do you give it up to God? I pray. Talking things out helps a lot. Even for people who don't believe in God, if you just sit there and you talk it out to yourself, and now don't address anything in the room, but if you talk to yourself, it helps you sort things out. It's cathartic. Many other things will come about which will be cloaked with mystery, which cannot be fully understood, and it will be difficult to explain how it will affect the world and people. So this is actually part of the prophecy, and let's look at that just for a second. Wait, because I just want to focus on what it's saying here. It is okay to say, I don't know about a thing, right? So that's what they're saying here is there are some parts of the prophecy that are cloaked in mystery, which cannot be fully understood, and it will be difficult to explain how it will affect the world and people. And what are we told in Revelation? Mystery Babylon. And what are all these schools called? Mystery schools, secret initiations, right? They cannot be fully understood. So we don't, it says right here, they're saying, I don't know. It's difficult to explain how this will affect the world and people. And I appreciate that. Like, I'd rather somebody be like, this could happen. Just like Jonah. Hey, you guys could get destroyed. A false prophet is not someone who has a false prediction. Actually, I think that's a really effective prophet when they get people to actually repent. Okay. Time seems to be moving faster. Okay. So, for all you globers out there, we were told recently that the earth is spinning faster. Do you think that's true? I asked you a question a couple of years ago. How long do you think? How much time could you gain? Let's say for 2 years. You shaved off 3 minutes of every day on people's cell phones, right? Because we already know that the weather app doesn't work, that it's never correct, right? And it seems a lot hotter than they're telling us. And I'm in Northeast Ohio, and I can't even describe the last few summers. And no, it's not my time or anything like that, because it's been steadily increasing for a couple of years now. So we know that, right? Now let's not talk about whether the Earth's a globe or flat or not right now. Let's say time moving faster. What if this is a part of their social experiment and they have shaved off minutes off of our cell phone time every day? Because I would swear there's been times I'd looked at my phone and I don't work, so I constantly have it around just to hear what's going on, to just play music sometimes while I'm doing dishes, and I look and see what time it is. And I would swear I've lost a couple hours here and there. Like, where did the time go? Like, it was just 11 and now I'm home and it's 1 and I rode my bike and it should have took 15 minutes. So just something, I always try to offer at least a different way of looking at things, because you never know, right? So if time is actually moving faster, is it because the earth is spinning faster? I don't think the earth spins. We would not be on the face of the earth if it spun. That's my opinion. You don't have to agree with me. That's my educated opinion at this point in time. But I would say that something is happening. So if time is moving faster, what does that mean? Does that mean shorter days and nights, or just shorter days? Are they preparing us for days of darkness when the sky will be covered. It is very overcast here today. I think more is going on with these volcanoes than they admit. And I think there's something going on with Yellowstone, though I'm not sure what it is because you see people walking across Yellowstone. Now, is that false AI imagery or is it actually not hot? I have questions. I do. Absolutely. Okay. Sometimes we feel that we are keeping up with it, then sometimes we are not. Often the thing may look positive, which would benefit man towards freedom and hope. Then suddenly the same thing becomes negative darkness without hope. We mean the future of people on the earth. We can only say this. Maybe this part of the cultural revolution, which will go away when the global society becomes stable. So they're talking about this time of inversion here right now, and they probably didn't know how to describe it. But it's actually very true. Someone says they will do that. That's how it was at the pizza shop. My boss, everything she said was the exact opposite 2 or 3 days later. "Oh, yeah, you can learn dough, absolutely." Because I just wanted to be in the back, left alone. I would make an extra dollar an hour, and I'd go in real early and get done real early. "Oh, sure, yeah, we can teach you dough." 3 people ahead of me in line, like, 2 days later. So, again, when I interrupt the books, there's a reason for that, so I hate when people just, like, walk out and leave. I have to add commentary. Number 1, to avoid copyright laws. Number 2, I paid for this book, so I think it's important that I actually discuss it with you and not just because some people, some people aren't good with words and prophecies and if parables. So I try to add in analogies to maybe make that process a little easier. Okay. So I think this is talking about right here, this time that we're living in now, where things are inverted, right? You get something that's supposed to be good for your life, it ends up taking away from it. And we're seeing that a lot right now. Just like I said with the things in the arms that they give you. They're supposed to be the cure, but in fact, they're what causes the illness. Perhaps most frown on Hopi because of their doomsday prophecies. Yeah, I just lost the whole room that I had of 5 people. Such as when the first gourd of ashes, atomic bomb, was dropped on Japan, killing many innocent people in a few seconds. The Hopi had knowledge that this would happen someday, so we were not much surprised that this came out. Rather, Hopi took it as a sign that things were getting out of hand. As instructed, Hopi promptly gave warning to the world that this powerful weapon must not advance further. If it did, mankind and all life would face disastrous consequences. Sadly, no one heeds the warnings, so we keep marching on. Our prophets predicted that there will be another split, as there was in 1906, when there was no solution for both factions to live side by side, when one side forsakes the divine law and our religious leaders for cultural change away from Hopi ways. So another split, just like there was in 1906 with their people. But again, if we look at the microcosm theory, that their society affects the rest of the world, just like I've talked about my testimony kind of being vomited out into the world. That's why I'm trying to show you your walk, your individual walk is important. It's vital. You are beloved. And when you go and do things that are harmful to your mind, body, spirit, they might not seem harmful, but candy tastes really good when we're eating it. But later on, the bad fruits show us that candy is really not good for us because it gives us cavities, right? This is what, this is kind of what I'm talking about there. Okay, so when there's no solution for both factions to live side by side, when one side forsakes the divine law and our religious leaders for cultural change away from Hopi ways, this will lead to what they term one will pay and one will not, meaning one is Bahana way and one is Hopi way. This choice will come up to each of us to choose either paths freely. Okay, so most of us, what do we always say? That we were raised in this system, that we weren't given a choice, that we don't have a choice but to live this way. At some point in your life, you have been given a choice to either go with light or dark, God or not God, the antithesis, creator maker, or natural, living a natural way of life and not going against nature, right? Now, a lot of us, I think, and I don't want to speak out of turn here, but I mentioned this yesterday and it's been on my heart. Somehow we were freed and we just weren't told yet. I don't know if this has to do with our government. I don't know. I think it's definitely a spiritual thing. It started in the spirit, but something is going to happen. We are going to have this choice, each one of us. Even maybe me, I'll finally be free of the situation that I am in. And again, don't get me wrong, I have mad love for my children, for my spouse. But we are at a time when our choices affect each other and those we are close to. You are beloved. You are special. Each one of us is essential. So what you do affects me, and what I do affects you. So we should have care for each other. It says there will be no pulling or pushing to get one to join the others. That's awesome. Like, if we actually get a free choice very soon here, it's like, hey, go where you want to go, do what you want to do. That'll be amazing. If this prophecy is fulfilled, we will all live in harmony once again. That is, if no one intervenes. Interesting. According to prophecy, the Hopi are to be the last target. What does Bible scripture say? What does Bible scripture say? That the whole world will turn against Israel, against the Israelites. I'm telling you, man, what they're showing us on TV is not where we should be looking. They will never show us real tribulation or real prophecy coming to be on the television. And the way you know that is what all the big channels are pushing. If they're all pushing the same thing, that should scream out to you agenda, agenda, agenda. We are to be conquered not by the army and their weapons. We are to be conquered by our own people. And what have I said about the church as well? Persecution often comes from within, from our own. Husband against wife, child against father. We also read that in the Bible. So you see, again, across faith systems, across cultures, across land masses, the Creator was imbuing future knowledge into people's spirits and minds to share with everyone so that we could be warned and we could change. By our own sons and daughters, without lifting our hands, their weapon will be what they learned through the education so kindly taught by the Bahana. What did I tell you since 2019? It was our children. It was the electronics they were bringing home. They were finding out who wasn't getting along, this, that, and the other. And so, oh, there would just happen to be a counselor or somebody available. In our school here, it was Morningstar. That was the librarian's name. She did the after school programs that my son attended for a year or two. So I'm pretty sure this was all initiations, all these mystery schools, and we just read that in the prophecy as well. Okay, if we are lucky, they will be able to tell the light from the darkness. And this is why you pray for your children. And what is prayer? Words have the power of life or death. Speak positive, good blessings upon your children's names. I pray for little Johnny to have wisdom today. I pray for little Johnny to have discernment today. I pray for little Johnny to have someone watching out for him today because, he's away from me. This is what I mean. Anyone can take time to speak a good few words over their loved ones. I don't want to hear you don't have time. If not, they will continue marching until they topple us. The Bahanos will pat the back of the conquerors while cheering and applauding. They will be satisfied. And what are you seeing now? What are you seeing now? This is what is it? What are they saying? This is what we voted for. What we voted for. People are cheering and applauding wickedness at this point. And I'm not getting into political debates. I'm talking about basic human dignity. They will be satisfied that they were not required to finish the task which they set out to accomplish. It is our own people who bring this about, and the Bahana, white men, Gentiles, therefore cannot be blamed. The conquest will be over, and all native people will be finished. This is a sad ending, and it is a pity that we must end this way. It was foretold that this portion of Hopi land must be protected and was to be a shelter for mankind, that it must not be harmed by man. Check that out. Now, do we agree with that? Maybe that's why they're saying all these fires are there now. Maybe they don't want anyone going there. Like I said, though, if we are in the time I think we are in or entering it, they will not be able to stop certain individuals, no matter what. If you have the bloodline, you will be able to enter that land. just like Moses in the promised land and all that stuff, because it is a shelter for mankind. So it's like on a video game when you go to the safe station, or when you're playing tag and you're a child from Gen X or above, because nobody does that anymore. And you home was safe, right? Home base is safe in baseball. So this is a safe spot. It's a true sanctuary. Okay. So I don't think they're going to be able to keep certain people from going there. I just don't. We wonder, do they read or hear the newscasts each day about widespread natural disasters, conflicts, and wars? Have they totally forsaken the spirit of our ancestors and our Creator? Now, again, we know that we cannot trust the mainstream media. They will, if things are really bad, they will make it like things are better. If things are really good, they will always take credit for it. If something is done in the sky, the moon, the stars, they will always take credit for it. Elon said he put a car in space. Anyone that believed that happened, I'm sorry, but your eyes need work. That did not look real in any sense of the word. It did not look like CGI. It wasn't even a good green screen. It looked like, I don't even know, it's like it was a bad B movie or something. Like it looked like something it looked like something my son did in our basement or something. Like it does not look legitimate at all. So they will always take credit for things that are awe-inspiring, right? But when things are bad, will they show them to us? Yes, because bad things can induce fear, and people in fear are easy to control. Will they show us everything? The problem is they will reframe it. They will never tell you tribulation is tribulation. They will never tell you persecution is persecution. Just like you're seeing with Israel now. The ones that they are attacking are Christians. And the people say it's not about faith or religion are lying. But it doesn't even matter because they are human beings made in the image of God. If you are the chosen people and you're a godly people, why are you ending other people that you don't even know because you want their land? That's not how things are supposed to be. Now, that's the problem that the Hopi prophecies are talking about forcing others to live in the way that you want to live. Just because you live that way does not make it the best way, does not even make it a good way. And it does not mean that somebody else wants to live that way or should have to live that way. We have to stop trying to force or force our will upon another free-willed being. We feel it is of the greatest importance to carefully calculate our actions and restore harmony and balance, or we will all perish. Since no one can tell what the next day will bring, suppose a natural or man made disaster strikes today. What will happen? You know, all the water and electric mains will be knocked out first. Many of the dependent multitude of people in big cities will perish. On the other hand, our village will still be standing with no broken water mains, no lost electric service. Our wells will still be usable unless the superpowered gourd of ash fall from the sky and the earth and all life will be burned to amber. At this time, we are very desperate. At any time, our children will push us beyond the brink. Then we will be done. Our original way of life will close forever. Our worries and tensions mount daily. Our children have come so far, and it seems almost impossible to back away. Hopi believe we are to be the last victims of the great white forces. It is said if purification does not come, our great creator will take the land back because we do not care for the land and we don't deserve to be on it. The above subject to our children is soundless and has no meaning. That's the saddest part of this all. I sit here and I can watch the view count or people in the chat go down. I have 3 people here. People want fed garbage. They want to eat garbage. They want to breathe garbage. They want to see garbage and they want to hear garbage. And they just don't care. We have come to a point of apathy and apathetic behavior, and I don't know that there's a way back. We need to cry out to the maker. And you say, why? Well, why should we do this? Why would you like it like this? Why would anyone like the world the way it is right now, with this apathy everywhere and this feeling that people lost their souls? Like we've lost something vital and we don't even know what we did to lose it. The Hopi elders look on with awe as the predictions of our prophets begin unfolding before their eyes. The fast life, the changes in attitudes and behaviors of the world's people, contesting for power, boastfulness, and know how, increased immorality and materialism. And these are the biggest problem with pride. Disaster follows pride, a fall follows pride. Whoops. Boastfulness and know-how, increased immorality and materialism, lovers of self and pridefulness. The world's people do not realize these actions gradually diminish the life resources through the opposing laws of nature with our own designs. And this is what I talked about. When we live in unnatural ways, when we go against nature, when we try to go up the river instead of using its energy in the way it's meant to, there's a debt. That's a deficit. You will have a negative effect because of that. What, just like when you take something from the earth, when you dig up that apple tree because you want it and you want all the apples on it, there's no apples left for anyone else, and you've taken the whole tree. Just like when you plant flowers or pick flowers or you forage for food. It's you take one and you leave three. Take one, you leave three, so that the person after you has something. Why this is not basic human behavior, I don't know anymore. I've talked to so many elderly people in my old line of work. And it's sad because that's where we got our values, but so many of them said, "Oh, well, I don't care. I'm not going to be here tomorrow." How could you behave like that? But usually the ones who behave like that are the ones who were older, who did not have any family left and did not have any children. So they didn't care because it was self-interest. They didn't have any children. But there still are people here and there still are children here. Whether they're your blood or your name or not, you should care. And if you don't care, please examine your heart. We need everyone involved in this. Everyone needs to make small changes every single day. And we can do this. Like if everyone just did it in one day, you would see things start to change. You would see things start to turn around just by being kind, saying kind words, stopping the cussing, lowering the skirts a little like they should be, right? Don't complain that men are looking at you if you're letting everything hang out. And I was one of those girls. I didn't get it. I was totally lost to apathy and apathetic. I thought it was okay. I was of Babylon. I said, well, these men should have more self-control, which I still believe. However, we're all responsible and accountable here, all of us. And I know, again, look, I lost 3 people that were watching. Nobody wants to hear about morals or morality or values or ethics. There's something wrong when you can't listen to somebody talk about morals, ethics, and values. There's something wrong. That's conviction that the Holy Spirit is convicting you, and you decided, well, I don't want to hear this part. I'll come back in a few minutes when she's done talking about morals and values. If you can't hear about them and it gets on your nerves, that's the Holy Spirit trying to convict you. Don't walk away. I was like that too. I know what it's like. You don't want to hear it. Your conscience, you don't want your conscience to wake up. But again, if you stop listening to people just because they start talking about ethics and values and morals, there's something wrong with the listener, not with the speaker. Upon this basis, our religious leaders always oppose modernization, but for some years, conflicting and distorted versions of our traditional wisdom and knowledge have been passed on by progressive Hopi. These distortions are now confusing the minds of Hopi people into going forward toward modern ways. People who don't understand the old teachings correctly are easily misled. And see, this is the problem we have with the Bible. When people talk about going back to the old laws, this is what I think of is going back to like if we did it rightly, going back to the laws of nature, right? Going back to the old laws of nature. Plant your food, grow your food, right? Use the energy of the wind and the water in its natural habitat in a natural way. Don't litter, don't pollute, right? We need to go back to the old ways if we want things to turn around. Excuse me. Those with shortcomings are easily hooked into the very way of life that the true Hopi are avoiding. These people are encouraged to follow the new system of a salary-based life and education. They are told that modern ways will not harm them, while those who lack education and technical skills are encouraged to become dependent on handouts, welfare, food stamps, etc. This harms the traditional principles of self-sufficiency through farming and handcrafts. Good, at least my mind is right. At least I know that like that's what they're talking about here. And if you're gonna learn anything today, higher education is not the way to go. You can learn any of that stuff online in your own time. If you want to be a valuable asset, I've said this for years, and I'm so glad to see that some of the people in this neighborhood that think I haven't affected them are actually listening. You wanna go to a trade school, you wanna learn a trade, you wanna get into horticulture, agriculture. People need food, right? You need to grow food. Go back to the old ways of animal husbandry because I don't think any of you have the guts. I don't think you're brave enough. But if you're brave enough to watch a movie like Dominion, you need to understand where your dairy comes from. We need to go back to the old ways of animal husbandry too, because we are causing great harm to sentient beings. And when you can see fear on the face of a pig and a cow, you know that we are doing wrong things. I had no idea how they got, I thought that they were using old fashioned animal husbandry. I thought that they were breeding the cows together. That's not what they're doing. And what they're doing is diabolical and it's sick. And the sad thing is there's no need for it to be done the way it's being done. The only reason I can think of that they're adding this extra step where man is intervening is because they are debased, because they are reprobate, because it's not needed. The insemination, that whole part is unnecessary and it's causing great harm to the animals. That comes out in the milk and the food, obviously, because fear changes their DNA, and then people are consuming that fear and that confusion, the spirit of confusion. And this was revealed to me when God Himself started physiologically changing my body. I couldn't understand why I was having these emotions out of nowhere, right? Like I would just start crying, but there was nothing at that time to be sad about. And I realized, oh my gosh, it's happening after I eat. What is happening? And then I got really sensitive to just all kind of different things. But anyway, this harms the traditional principles of self-sufficiency through farming and handcrafts. We feel that this is a shameful, not a proud way of obtaining necessities. So they're talking about food stamps and welfare there. It seems they would know better, but they appear to ignore the problems of the present crisis as if it were unimportant. Devoted Hopi regard this crisis as extremely serious. It could be the harrowing last chapter of the true Hopi way of life. To show you how persistently willed the Hopi progressives are in doing their dirty work, only a month ago they made an inroad into our village with telephone lines without the approval of the village leaders. Do you see what I mean? Do you see what I mean about forcing things upon other people? They don't want telephone lines. They don't want them. They don't want utilities there. They want to be self-sufficient. And we could say, "Huh, they're uncivilized." But we also know, most of us that are Christ followers that, participate on this channel, we know who the prince of the air is, and we know that the airwaves belong to him. I don't feel the same way that I once did about phones. I don't think they're quite the convenience they used to be. And sometimes I wonder who I'm actually speaking with sometimes. And the internet too. These are lines of communications to the old ones, to demons who are trapped in another realm. And there's a veil separating us for a reason. Now they don't want the phone lines, but why are we on so why are and I say we because I live in this society, but it's not, we. Why are they making them have this? We must stop doing this to people. Like, doesn't it disgust you that that's all America's ever done? We're gonna force this. We left whoever left persecution allegedly, came here to be done with that, and still lie through the whole educational system. We're lied to. I don't even know what to think anymore. Like I feel like our whole nation was just created, and all of us were had to be food sacrifices, and it's disgusting. I don't know how else to say it. There isn't a nice way to say it. What else is our nation? It really does seem like a farm. I do not consent. We are not food. We are beloved. We are creatures of God. We carry His image, right? You got to say you don't consent to this stuff because by sitting back and saying nothing, you're passively agreeing to it. By eating at certain places where this is what they serve you is Soylent Green, you're participating. If you are still eating that stuff after so many of us have been warning you, you are a willing participant in cannibalism. and you will partake of the end of days cannibalism curse. I read you that from Baruch. And Baruch is an old Jewish text from the Tanakh, from the Old Testament. He was a minor prophet. So people have been warning us for eons now to change our ways. And we will for a little while. Something will happen like World War II. That's when the vegan society was produced. That's when rations came about. When people, but people shouldn't have to be told to ration. We shouldn't get to the point where we're 4, 5, 600 pounds. And I'm not criticizing that individual. We are all made in the image of God. I'm saying there's something deeper that's wrong. It's a spiritual problem, and it's not going to be fixed by secular means, by politics or anything else. Only a spiritual solution will cure what ails us. And I'm very serious when I say anyone that's ready to go, I will just walk into their village and ask them if they need help, if I can stay. I will tell them God called me there. I have no shame in doing that. But I think we need to go as a group. I think that it would seem that this needs to be a group effort, that we need to, and I don't know how big a group, but it seems that there needs to be more than one, more than two, maybe more than 3 people saying we don't consent to this. And I think that the people who have felt called, man, I've been looking at this stuff for years, the spiral and all this, and they want to tell you, oh, that's the Child Harmers logo. It's a Hopi logo. The spiral, it's a Hopi symbol. It's a Native American symbol. But you have these people in politics that want to make everything about some cute conspiracy. And that dirties everything. Not everything is about that. I mean, it exists, obviously. But not everything is about that. But they have everybody's minds in the gutters. When the Bible tells you, keep your mind on heavenly things. Do you see how it's everyday behavior? Everything we do, participating in their secular way of life. They are not of us. They are not mankind. None of them. Some of them aren't even real people. Some of them are of giant descent. Nephilim, Rephaim. That's all the TV is full with. So it says, our readers can compare our present situation with the ancient ones. Our chances for survival are not yet gone. There's always a group of people who survive to carry on. A remnant, guys. The difference lies in the ancients did not know about nuclear warfare, and today's big powers have more powerful weapons and have exploited many secrets of nature and used them wrongly. The gods do not allow the secrets to be known unless for the benefit of all living things. This is a big problem too. The fallen love to steal what is already God's. They love to put their name or label on it and say it's theirs when it's not. They have told us things. Why are we not allowed to know these secrets? Because we're selfish with them. Because we use them to make ourselves look better, bring ourselves money, bring ourselves a partner, love spells, right? Success spells. Read the stars to know when is the best time to play the lottery or whatever. But it's all what? Rooted in self. That's when it becomes witchcraft. God does not allow the secrets to be known unless it's for the benefit of all living things. Very often we hear the tunes, do the Hopi really hold the key to survival in their mysticism? We do not want to undermine any religious groups. Hopi does not claim the key, for all people on earth are responsible for holding the key to survival. Wow, keys have been so big in my testimony too. Hopi merely teaches alternatives by basing his knowledge on the past histories of humankind from previous worlds. Hopi were instructed to tell of the great purification just ahead of a time when humankind would once again become highly civilized, tending to become careless and leading us to self-destruction. Survival is up to each of us to consider. Furthermore, we believe the instructions were given to all people long ago according to where we are placed and how we are commissioned to fulfill our duties. Hopi brings this message to the world, hoping that there are pillars, however seemingly feeble, still standing by the strength of his knowledge. Only his way will endure, right? This is God's way. This situation confirms the theory found in our prophecy telling us that the choice of what to do with the land is ours. Let me do this again. How many times have I told you to understand your own sovereignty and to understand what your inheritance truly is? Anywhere that you walk, if you are of mankind, anywhere you set your foot, you have, you are sovereign, okay? You have the authority to trample on demons. That's where you're at in the hierarchy, okay? Now, angels, we can't really order them or tell them what to do or any of that, but they're not quite above us. They are, but they're not. Fallen angels, we should not interact with at all. They are below us. That's where they belong, and they belong out of our minds. People are focusing on them too much, and it's akin to worship. That's why I try not to, people need to know, but I try not to dwell there all the time. The land is our inheritance. We are told this in scripture. We are told this in many other ancient texts, Sumerian texts, all over the place. The land is our inheritance. Unless we are slaves, we don't really have a say if God is commissioning and mandating our slavery at that time for the purpose of refining us, of teaching us a lesson, right? Just like a parent will ground their child. Usually, if they're loved, you will get grounded as a child because your parent loves you. They want you to understand there are limits to what you can do because certain things will bring you to your demise. And so we want to avoid that because we love you so much. So the land, this is complicated. It is ours. If you are of the 12 tribes, the land is yours. This is why I was told not to leave. Now, I don't know if that's Ohio, the spot, America. I haven't decided yet still. But I believe at this point that it's the land I'm on, America, allegedly. Only prey runs, right? And they can smell your fear. We've talked about this on a different angle. But the land is yours. And if there are other humans on it and they are demonized, you can deliver them or tell them to leave, just like Christ did with the demons and the pigs. You are higher on the hierarchy than demonized people. What does this mean? Higher on the hierarchy. It means you have the authority to tell the demon to get out of them. It also means that they have no authority over you because now that your fellow mankind has gone below you in the hierarchy. Doesn't mean you have a right to harm them. It just means that you don't have to pay them any mind. They have no right to do anything to you, especially if it's against God's law, like unmandated arrests or things of that nature. If those people are demonized, you're above them in God's hierarchy. Now, I'm not a promoter of violence. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about using your words and wielding the sword of the Spirit, because sometimes just doing that is enough. And they will back off and leave, confused and confounded, not even remembering what happened. The land is ours, and I believe that we've been freed. We just haven't been told yet. It's all coming because I think everybody's going to have, again, a choice of where they're going to be. Therefore, whatever choice is made will bring its due reward. We will see what happens. When we look at our past history, we see the actual fulfillment of our prophecies, and that amazingly enough, many events were foretold centuries in advance, and even still, some of us refuse to accept the reality of this ancient knowledge. The time will come to pass when the minds of men will become deluded, and the words of the wise will be ignored. And what does Scripture say? Doctrines of demons. And we just looked at the prophecy of Thoth. He also said, there will be no righteousness, right? When the influence from foreign sources has taken hold, the spirit within the native people of this land will wane, perhaps even be destroyed. We were warned of this by the prophets of old. The good news about this is that there are 12 tribes, and there are a lot of lost members of these tribes who don't even know they are of them. So when he says that they will be destroyed, it might just be that generation, the ones that are on the land now. There's a reason for prophecy. We wouldn't be hearing it if they were going to all end, or if they, you know what I mean? So to me, that's an open-ended possibility. The Hopi will be the last target because the traditional ways embody a high level of knowledge and strong ability to resist. What do I always tell y'all? Peacefully resist. Don't be violent, but understand how to wield the sword of the spirit, your tongue. And you tell people, I'm not doing that. I do not consent to that. I am not in agreement with that. I do not have to do that. I will not do that. Here, let's try this instead. Or whatever the situation calls for. In the effort to accomplish his ends, the Bahana will use many tactics. As time passes, there are increasing signs within the Hopi nation that the oppressors are succeeding. Yes, the Hopi have come a long way through one obstacle after another. Many of the ancient prophecies have already come to pass. At this time, the Hopi live in two worlds, our traditional one and that of the Bahanas. See, I feel like that too. That's so wild. We are now at the point where each of us has to make his own decisions as to which world to choose. And that's what I'm telling you. If you're alone and you have no family and you are a godly person and you're seeking, what do you have to lose by starting anew with other people who are of a like mind? We should be there protecting land like this. People who are still living in law according to nature, we should be protecting them. And I'm just being real. Like, that's what we should be doing at this time. And people, oh, you're an activist. Oh, you're a liberal. I'm none of those things. I reject all those labels completely and utterly. I'm trying desperately to be a daughter of the Most High Creator, Maker, God, and whatever that entails as I learn minute by minute, day by day, just like some of you. It says our ancestors were right in predicting that soon dances and music not of our own will drown out the traditional teaching and knowledge of the Hopi. Our long tradition and customs of dress appearance, hairstyles, and traditional sports for our children and adults, many things uniquely Hopi will disappear. Most of our ceremonies will end. That is so sad. And I looked at their website and there hasn't been any updates or anything since 2022. And there are a lot of like vacant positions. I just really feel like somebody should be there protecting what's left. Why did God give me a heart like this but make me so immobile in my life? Like, I won't drive a car either because to me, that's blood of the earth. Like, I should have been raised like a Native American because I have enough of that desire inside of me. I don't know how to describe it. Okay, in order to keep our village stable, we must keep our thoughts on a spiritual level. That's key. This becomes the most important base for our village to stand on. We must not forsake the laws and instructions of the Great Spirit, the Creator, from whom we received our teachings and to whom we vowed to live them. See, we especially have no right to try and force somebody else to live in a certain way when they took a vow. Like, that's very serious to them. And we also have no right, like, there are certain parts in the Hopi nation that you're not allowed to have cameras or you're not even allowed to sketch. It's against some people's religion to be filmed. I don't want to be on film anymore. I don't want to be in other people's pictures. I don't want to be under surveillance constantly. It has nothing to do with the fact that I'm a criminal or planning crimes because I'm not. It has everything to do with the fact that I'm made in the image of God. And I don't want just anyone having access to that to do with as they please virtually. Or to make me look like some kind of criminal or thing that I am not, which people are doing. It has been said that if even only one or two stand firm, it will accomplish the good result for all land and life. Oh, see, guys, you don't need an army. I wish somebody would go with me and like learn the old ways and protect their land. And on a side note, I love me some corn. Like, you can make anything out of corn. It's good filler. It tastes good. I love it. So I would be in my like heaven. So seriously, if anyone is at the point where you're ready to make this choice, I think that's where we need to go and we need to protect their land. Our land. It's our inheritance. All of us are of one of the 12 tribes. Some of us just don't know. If we weaken and fall under the mounting oppression of the Bahana, white man, as Englishmen, whatever, European men, as we did when we allowed our land to be cut up and put in writing and sold, then any possibility of recovery of our tradition in our land is nil. When all that is ours, all that is Hopi, is taken away, and all our powers of reaching the spirits of heaven and earth are gone, we are dead. We may stomp our feet to the beat of the drum and sing ever louder when praying, but sadly we will not reach the spirits, the guardian spirits, and the producers of food and rain. We will know then our identity, our spirit power, and values have gone. This is why I tell you to pray and ask for rain and to be grateful, to say thank you when you get the weather that you ask for or you get blessings in that day that you ask for. Why should we be able to stop and get food so easily? Are any of us planting plants? Are we doing anything to give back to the food system? And it's an honest question. I'm not either. Are any of us doing anything to give back to the food system which we take from? That right there should show you a deficit. We take but don't give. Why give my money? That doesn't help the earth. That doesn't help that farmer. That doesn't help that company. Well, it might help the company, the corporation, but it doesn't help agriculturally. We need to think of things like these. Signs. The Hopi must plant his seeds and watch them grow. He must pay attention to the natural change and or to the science of change and natural order. And when they speak of laws, like don't get scared and run away. This is what they're talking about. Natural order, the way nature is intended to be. Birds with birds, squirrels with squirrels, that type of thing. He must watch with close attention to the behavior of all life on earth. Any change or odd behavior will be the sign that the natural order of the earth is getting out of balance. Hopi believe that Hopi land is the spiritual center where changes will be visible to the trained mind and sight. A recurring theme of prophetic tradition is that of Mother Earth's revenge for abuse by mankind. Nostradamus sees this lashing back as reaching its apex between the years 1993 and 2000. In the spring or autumn of 2000, he says the Earth will either suddenly or slowly shift on its axis. By October, there will be such a great movement that people will think it has lost its gravitational pull and is plunging into perpetual darkness. Now, again, this book is a little old. That didn't quite happen, though we had some really nasty earthquakes in Japan. This is not a prediction we will like or accept. Everyone will prefer the Hopi prophecy that, depending upon changes in human behavior, pushes this kind of global change off into the distant future. Of course, we don't have long to wait to find out, do we? So that's what the Hopi prefaces in all of their prophecies as well, is that these are possibilities, right? Doesn't mean it's going to happen. We could get misfortune or we could get good fortune, depending on our own free will, our own choices and behaviors. The earth is like a spotted fawn, and each spot has a duty to make the body function. Hopi land is the center of the earth's body. It is the spot of power with the duty to foretell the future by comparing the actions of mankind with the prophecy told to them. So you see, not every prophecy is going to come to pass if we change our ways, right? These are warnings. Hopis teach caution and awareness. Now we enter the time of testing, which only the great creator can confirm the alignment of the planets. We were so kindly informed by the Star Watchers. The Hopi have expected this to happen and have been waiting. We've had that alignment, like several of, there's been a lot of things going on in the last 10 years that are allegedly once in a lifetime, once in 2,000 years, right? According to ceremonial tradition, following the stars one day, certain stars will come together in a row as happened thousands of years ago. It is a time of purifying the land. Changing climate and many catastrophes may occur as we pass through this stage. What may happen, no one really knows. See, I appreciate it when somebody's just honest with me and they say, we're not sure. Although the alignment of the planets does have an exact time, according to legend, it may be in your lifetime, your children's, or their children's. But as the time nears, the predicted behavior of the people accurately describes the people of today. Perhaps it is time to repent and pray that our earth will not be totally lost. It has been said that this event may bring about one of two things: destruction or prosperity to renew the earth to its original wholesomeness. This much we do know. Hold, please. And we also know, and I'm going to do a video on this, and it's not going to be a popular video, and I'll probably lose subs for it, but it needs to be done. I'm going to do a video on all of the prophets from Old Testament, and I'm going to just take their prophecy bits, right? When their prophetic utterings, and show you what they all have in common. Because again, the Hopi know that there are sacred traditions that are supposed to be upkept. And I talked about this again. God gave me this information in some way, shape, or form about the ceremonies and rituals that are no longer taking place to the borders of the federal and national parks. And this is how the others are coming and going so easily now because those things weren't done. Because Europeans, Christian Europeans, call their rituals pagan. They don't understand the reason behind those rituals was to keep certain things in those areas so that they would not stumble upon unsuspecting human beings. And I'm speaking about Sasquatch, Nephilim, the Nephilim guys, and I think that might be the mark of Cain, but I'm not sure. And they are a supernatural spiritual being that apparently can come and go between the veil because they have human blood and angelic blood. So they can come and go. And again, you lose people from watching, but this is the truth of where we're at. Like, this is where we are. Nobody wants to face it. That's fine. It doesn't matter if you put a pillow over your face. Doesn't matter if you stop listening. It doesn't even matter if you shut me up or throw tomatoes at me or heckle me or whatever. These things are happening. It doesn't matter if you shut me up eventually. There will be somebody else who will take my place. There will always be a remnant left to speak truth. Although the alignment of the planets does have an exact time, according to legend, it may be in your lifetime, your children's, or their children's. But as the time nears, the predicted behavior of the people accurately describes the people today. So Nostradamus' predictions include an alignment of the planets that will lead to sudden and violent phenomena occurring in the spring, a date his translators set as May 5th, 2000. On this date, scientists say the new moon will align with the Earth, the Sun, Jupiter, and Saturn. This will bring a gravitational tug-of-war between them and the Earth. It could result in powerful earthquakes, tidal waves, and winds that will cause tremendous damage on Earth. The Earth could be toppled off its polar axis. Solar activity is expected to increase 20%, further aggravating the next drought. And see, I don't know if we're round or if we're flat. Pretty sure the firmament is what is spherical, what's around it, right? Like, I think. But you have these old scientists that say it's round, so I don't know. I don't think we spit on a ball. I just don't none of it works. It doesn't scientifically work. It doesn't theoretically work. Depending on the degree and suddenness of the shift, scientists theorize that any of the following phenomena may take place. The sun or moon will appear to stand still and turn blood red in color, which has happened. The stars will swing out of position and the sky will turn black. Don't know that that's happened. Arctic temperature and tropical climate zones will wander across the planet. We're kind of having some of that at this point. When the end is near, we will see a halo of mist around the heavenly bodies. Oh, buddy, that's current. How many of us are talking about this right now? The smaller channels like Cabin Girl, my channel, Christus Rex, we're all talking about like the mist and the fog and how it has like this halo or ring around the sun and stuff. And the sun's gonna have a ring. It's the reflection around the firmament. This is different though. This is like the sky is not looking right. And they say it's wildfires, but again, I don't know that I buy that with all these volcanoes going off. And that's why another reason I'm reading this. Like people can just keep going away all they want, but that's why I'm reading this is so there is at least record of us being warned. Somebody is trying to, you know what I mean? And there's other channels like mine, and we all kind of, it's a labor of love for sure. Telling us that people of all color must unite in a rise for survival and that we must uncover the causes of our dilemmas. Unless man made weapons are used to strike first, peace will then come. So they're saying that peace can come as long as there's no war. As long as there's no man-made weapons striking each other, that peace can come. Which allegedly we already have war, but who knows? So the time will come when we will experience late springs and early frosts. This will be the sign of the returning ice age. Okay, so that's not... That goes against what they themselves were saying because they were talking about fire. So we're going to see what they mean by this. Knowing what the prophecies have that said thus, the Hopi themselves, and that it is these prophecies. Unfortunately, there are some that tell us things that are painful to hear. It is not encouraging to see what whites have done to the Hopi, every terrible thing the prophet said we would. It is also not encouraging to know that they have called out for help many times, and although Americans are the most responsive and caring people in the world, few of us have responded to them. I never, like again, they don't give you airtime if they don't want you to have it. So very few people probably heard them crying out. Now we switch to a new phase where the prophecies deal directly with us, for they deal with the future and fate of the entire world. These are comparatively few in number, yet so awesome they confront us in reverberating fashion. As we analyze them, we will recognize that portions are already coming to pass. World conditions easily confirm that the downturn of the fourth cycle is underway and that the prophecies are beginning to be fulfilled. I at least agree with that. We are at the end of an age. Therefore, I suspect that in the near future, one of the prophecies will be so clearly fulfilled that there will be no mistaking it. Perhaps that will gain our full attention and get more of us to put the instructions to use. The problem is that, and the instructions, by the way, are the way to live life. Now, I've looked into getting his other book that tell us about the rituals and stuff of the Hopi and even the Navajo and the Cherokee and the Sioux, I think. But it's like $50 for the hard copy and it's 15 for a paperback. So when I get some type of funds again, maybe I'll get the paperback. But $10 was all I could swing for this digital copy. So here we go. The problem is that we usually delay such things as long as we can. Whenever solutions for improving and redirecting life are presented, critics often ask for proofs that proposals will work, implying by their request that without these guarantees, we'll be wasting our time. See, that's my biggest problem with all of this is when you sit down to talk about solutions, everybody wants to talk or debate forever. We have a really big problem with that in America is everybody wants to one up the other person in the conversation, or they want to be right, or they want to debate and argue all the time. Not everything is a debate or an argument. Some things just are irrefutable truths. We need to change our ways. We need to change them quickly. The Michigander says, yes, ma'am. Hello, it's nice to see you. I hope you can hear the smile in my voice. I'm glad that you're here again. Okay, so let's move on. I don't want to like talk your ears off. Fortunately, where the Hopi instructions are concerned, that kind of proof is ample. With these, we are not talking about a new and untried scheme. For nearly a thousand years, traditionalists have been living testimonies to the fact that their instructions work exceptionally well. Dan Ivahama is the perfect illustration, still in remarkable condition at the age of 102. And he's co-writing this book with this guy. Wow. Michigander said, you too. Thank you. Dan Ivahama is the perfect illustration, still in remarkable condition at the age of 102. Hold, please. In the Bible, we are promised 120 years. That's why when everybody says, we don't know why Moses died, what did he die of? He decided to die because he was 120 and he was a man of God. God's spirit would no longer walk with him, so he went to walk with God at 120. He got his new body. Well, we weren't to that point yet, but you know what I'm saying. And people always say, Noah prophesied for 120 years and nobody listened. The 120 was promised to us in life. Like that was our lifespan. This is why when they say, oh, this person died at 40, I'm like, what are you talking about? We're supposed to have until 120. And he wasn't a perfect man. He did sin. So he was a sinner. He was still a man of God, but he was a sinner. And he ended somebody and he disobeyed God, right? And that's why he didn't get into the promised land. Anyways, we're supposed to get 120 years. Don't you take nothing different. He shows us as a true fountain of youth in action. An example of this truth is that when I took the first copy of the printed Totavella book to him, I drove onto his property and found him in front of the house, looking for all the world like an elf and wearing on his head a cone-shaped red bandana. He was standing in the middle of a huge wood pile and using a hand axe to split wood for his winter fires. Have you wondered what your chances are of doing that kind of thing when you pass 100? That's wild. That's why I'm trying to stay active every day. I'm not the quickest and I can't lift as much as other people, but I'm still moving. So, prophecies yet to be fulfilled. Please remember that the prophecies I include here are quoted from the newsletters so that they are what the authors themselves wrote and are not edited. Today, once again, the world is facing a new crisis. This is a war of retaliation against terrorism, a war to save the innocent. I don't appreciate that. I know that you just went off of there, but there's another way to do that. Hold, please. There you go. Do not take anything from her. You were on there, so you didn't steal her PB. Okay. Sorry, guys. I split My firewood with one hand, fire axe, cut in half. Oh, that's dope. What a cool idea. See that? Resourcefulness, intuitiveness, get it doneness. I like that. I like that a lot. I wish I lived like that. Okay, prophecies yet to be fulfilled. Going on a decade now. That's dope. You must live an awesome life. This is a war of retaliation against terrorism. Okay, so this isn't given to us in context. We're just going to read. I'm not going to make any assumptions. A war to save the innocent and punish the guilty. But who is the innocent and who is guilty? Well, it depends on how you look at it. Life would be good if all men were innocent. Let us focus on minorities and figure who is guilty. Minorities such as the native people of both North and South America and elsewhere. We believe militarism is born out of injustice, poverty, and ignorance, where absolute government refuses to hear the grievances of minorities or to help in resolving problems. Full stop here. I have to say, as a person who looks Caucasian, again, I don't know my roots. I get very dark in the summer, very pale in the winter. I'm told I'm French and Italian. I think my grandmother was Native American. I never met her, didn't know her, but the stories that I was told, again, people telling me without telling me, that's where I'm at right now with that. I have to say that these messages strongly resonate with me. I'm very anti, and I'm not extreme, right? Like, I don't push violence, I don't promote violence, I don't protest things because I don't think that's the way to go about this. You can't beat them at their game. That's not how it's going to happen. It has to be words and it has to be us literally physically standing firm, going to a plot of land saying, we're standing here, we're not moving, this is the way we want to live. We don't want you telling us how to live anymore. Like, that's what it's going to take. Nobody wants to do that. Everybody wants to, well, they're not bothering me. Nobody's seen me yet. That's great. And I'm not saying to go on the president's like front lawn or into like, NATO or the UN. I'm saying we go to where we're called, and I'm being called to this area, and we stand firm. We learn the old ways and we do the best that we can. And see, real quickly, that's why I repented, because I knew that people around me were not going to do that. And although I know it's very hard to behave, right? As a sinner, it's very hard to behave. Um, I was hoping that my change would affect those around me. And you don't understand it. The balance of nature can be fixed if we start living within that balance again. And it's going to take a few brave souls to start the herd moving, so to speak. All right, let me take a drink and we'll continue on. But yeah, this is ridiculous. So the people resort to violence, demonstrations, and even terrorism or other recourse when they see no other way to be heard. What can we do when our world leaders and the people are acting like fools in attempts to solve the problems confronting us? And again, I think it starts locally. I think you turn all this off, you don't pay them attention, you ignore them. You wait till they come physically to where you're at, and you just stand your ground and you say, no, I'm not doing what you want me to do. This is where I'm staying. Just like the Hopi. They didn't want telephone lines. They should have stood firm on their land that day until those people left. And it's very simple. God told me this in the beginning of my testimony. Stand firm. But standing still was one of the hardest things I've ever done, and I can't lie about it. All right, let me see how long this is because I don't want to. I'll read another paragraph or two. This book is hella long to read out loud. Like, it's crazy. All right. It is in the prophecies of the Hopi that in a case like this, the Navajo may help our cause. Also, the Bahanas of the Paiute tribe may help. We doubt that the U.S. government will easily concede our sovereignty. If possible, both Hopi and Navajo traditionals would like separation from those who want to be assimilated. Both tribes could thereby retain their identity and lay the foundation for a self-respecting community. Here, here. I agree with that. Small government, smaller military, if they're going to have it, we be like Walnut Grove and Little House on the Prairie, and we just stay in our own section, mind our business, and wait till they come to us with a problem. But otherwise, don't participate. As much as you can, extricate yourself. And I already told you that participating in the voting system is spiritual. Like, that will spiritually bind you to them people. If you want to change the system, if you think it's a wicked system, the best thing you could do is remove your attention from it, remove your money from it, remove yourself from it. That is the quickest, and I think it's the best way that on an individual basis we can change the system, or at least get it off of us and to leave us alone. There are two water serpents, one at each pole with a warrior sitting on its head and tail. These command nature to warn us by her activities that time is getting short and we must correct ourselves. If we refuse to heed these warnings, the warriors will let go of the serpents. They will rise up and all will perish. Now, is that a parable analogy, or is it? I mean, I don't know, but it sounds a lot like the beast of the sea to me. We are much concerned about the climate. No one seems to be able to predict the weather accurately from day to day. Yeah, that's why I ask for what I need. However, we know according to our time markers that it is past due for certain seeds to be planted at their proper time. Yes. This spring, we were reluctant to plant due to the late snow and cold weather. Once more, maybe our ancient prophecy is right that one day we will plant wearing finger sacks, gloves, clearing away snow with our feet before planting. This summer, the summers will have become shorter for maturing the corn for harvesting. The result is anybody's guess. And yeah, that's the thing. The weather is kind of all over the place. In hot places, it's colder than it should be. In cold places, it's warmer than it should be. So you would have like certain areas that are going to have snow, and a third of everything is going to be left after the fire. Anybody's guess is another reference to the if aspect of Hopi prophecy, which again, I greatly appreciate that they do it that way. It is said that if the future generations find out through records that we did nothing to preserve the good ways, they will pull and box our ears and even throw us from our houses into the streets. The suffering will be of our own making. The lack of peace in our own spiritual being could trigger the revolution. This right here is what you're seeing now. You're seeing it happen. Hold on. Future generation find out through records that we did nothing to preserve the good ways. They will pull and box our ears and even throw us from our houses into the streets. You are seeing a lot of older homeless people. Please understand that is part of the agenda. The current system is a very forgiving one, and if you cannot produce and if you cannot give to the system, it does not want you. That's the first part of that. The second part is that this is correct. Everybody laughed at Greta, whatever her name is, the young girl that's the activist and protester. And I'm not saying she's not a plant or a CIA operative. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that her story is not unique, that each generation is very angry at the one that came before it because we didn't do a better job. Our children are upset with us. We, in turn, are upset with our parents. Nobody told us anything about anything. Nobody took the time to teach us anything. They were all too busy. Like, my mother was like totally into like the phone. She had fallen into that, and who knows what else. I honestly don't know what she did with a lot of her time other than harassing her own children. But anyways, you're seeing that happen now. Now, what does this say? Our white brother might come and find we have forsaken the sacred laws and instructions. Then he will whip us without mercy. Either this or nature herself will take over. Let us look into the future through the eyes of our prophets. They say that along the way, the industrialized world will have certain problems. Throughout the world, people will be uncomfortable because of the changing times. The worldly woes people will be going through. People will have to make adjustments to fit themselves into new lifestyles and environments. And that's going to be it. Are you going to go with the smart city, or are you going to go back to the old ways? There's a lot of danger in the smart city too. Somebody always knows where you're at. There's not a way out if there's a natural disaster. Like what I've looked at the plans. Again, if we think our current city planners had issues, then you guys should see the smart cities, because they're not looking conducive to sentient beings, to organic life. I'll just say that. They don't look like they're for people. The industrialized nations will become careless in getting more of the resources they need out of the earth, oil, coal, etc., believing all these things will last forever. Soon natural resources will be depleted. Ding, 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 winner, winner, chicken dinner. America is so addicted to gas, and they would much rather go to war and end other people's lives or cause needless suffering to get that gas just so they can drive around. I'm not saying it's not convenient. But I'm saying there's another way to do things. There are other ways to do things at this point. We know that there are other fuel sources. They want excuses to fight wars. And again, there's something about black goo and oil and gas that I just don't like the way it coincides. And I see that those who do drive are going to be having serious problems, and already people are getting run off the roads. Targeted individuals are getting stalked because they want these self-driving cars everywhere, so they don't want a lot of drivers. People, if you want to travel, we're going to have to get used to, again, being vagabonds of a sort, which is better anyways, because that's how you get food, is by following the sun and the seasons. But again, I'm being called to Arizona, and I don't know why. I've never been there, never been west. I have no idea. Okay, so fuel shortages will occur. We know this is like inevitable. And this is, again, let me preface this: inflation. They're using Donald Trump as a symbol because everybody loved him so much. And they knew that people would continue voting and vote him in. And then when he's in, like most people, he does the opposite of what he promised. I don't care personally. I could care less what the guy does. I don't think he's the same person. I don't even know that he's a legitimate, organic, real being, sentient being anymore. And again, that's a whole nother story. But Elon Musk, he likes his little creations. But anyways, natural resources will be depleted. That's what you're seeing now. It's not inflation just because of war. And they're going to tell you that. They will never tell you the truth. One day you will just go to the food store and the doors will be locked. Or they will pull you in there and keep you for your troubles. One day you will go to Walmart and there will be no food there. It will just happen that quickly. I know, I lost a job that way once. They didn't even let us in. They just handed us our checks outside and said we're closing. That's what will happen with the food, and that's why you're seeing inflation now. It has nothing to do with war. It has nothing to do with the economy. It has everything to do with scarcity. And our government was good. It seems like they kept back food and they kept it stored for us and frozen. Because I'm telling you, the produce that I'm getting has been frozen multiple times, which is not good for food, and it's not good to consume it that way. And I know because I'm a mother and because I've worked in restaurants and I've worked with food. I know what it does when it's been frozen, right? This means there's scarcity. It has nothing to do with the economy, guys. It means that food is scarce. It means that products are scarce. Why? Because there's a lot less people than there used to be. Why? Was Rona a real plague? It's seeming like something actually happened and they didn't want to tell us. It could be one of the Egyptian plagues. I don't know. I did not leave this area. I saw the people in the masks. I heard people passed away. But I know in my spirit, and I know by looking around, and I know by my discernment, that there's a lot less people walking and talking on the face of the earth. All you gotta do is pay attention. And I don't care what anyone says about the traffic they were caught in. I know there's gaslighters out there, and that's why they come to my channel, because they know that I don't get out or whatever. But discernment, guys, spiritual discernment. There is scarcity. Start putting stuff aside. Fuel shortages will occur. That's gonna happen real soon here because we're at a point where it's like a seesaw, right? We can only get more if we're fracking more and drilling more. You need more people to be able to do that. You need people to be able to move the product, and we have a lot less people than we used to, like I said. For planting, harvesting, and transport will become useless. Supermarket shelves will become empty on farm produce. The farmers and those who grow their own food will not sell their produce. I don't blame them. This would be me right now. If I was a farmer, I would probably stop selling it to the grocery stores, to the wicked corporations, not because I hate people, but to help my own family survive. I mean, that's just what it is. When you're a man, you protect your family and others if you can. But in a situation like this, usually you protect your family. And I mean, it's smart. Money will become worthless. Michigander says, I got ready. Alcohol burns. Okay. Money will become worthless. The white man Bahana, with all his intelligence and technology, will not be able to repair the damage. With all his technology, will not be able to repair the damage. Yeah, but is it going to go to crypto? And I still don't like the word that it has the word crypt in it. There's something wrong there. Now let us review our knowledge briefly, the centuries-old prophecies, which warned us what would happen when we forget the principles of right and wrong in our behavior. We will see extraordinary events in nature and earth, including mankind, because modern man ignores the wisdom of ancient culture and religion, which we know is true by the small viewership in my channel. Modern man looks upon old wisdom and knowledge as dead, useless, and no longer relevant. I mean, you got Google. What else do you need? I don't actually have to know anything. I can look it up in Google. Google can do it for me. Okay. Because Google was taught to never deceive, right? All it knows is to give you the information you're looking up. What if the information it gives you, what if the sources are liars? What if it's not giving you any truth at all? These are things you need to think about because Google took a big part in ruining my family. Now, and obviously we allowed that to happen, but I'm just saying. Now let us review our knowledge briefly. Did that. Modern man began to depend on the money system and no longer on Mother Earth for food. Ugh, fire. That burns. That burns. Modern man began to depend on the money system and no longer on Mother Earth for food. According to the prophecy, when this happens, Mother Earth will hide the nourishment which she provides because of the view that ancient food is poor man's food. Yeah, but didn't we read that the ancient Egyptians, even especially the elites, that they did not eat animals, that they ate nuts and berries and manna, honey. They did participate, they ate honey, but they ate a lot of nuts and fruits and berries. When all food disappears, modern man will try to correct his mistake, the conditions he caused upon the earth through his inventions. Oh my gosh, they're talking about 3D food right there. I'm going to make a note. How do I make a note? 3D printed food. 3D. Hold, please. This might help somebody. When you buy a book, they should really give you the digital copy and the paperback without you having to pay twice. I am addicted to honey and lemon. Oh my gosh, I love honey. It's like my only treat now. It's like my sugar thing. Yeah, it's kind of a thing. It's an addiction. I put hot honey on all kind of stuff. I miss you, Nicole. Okay, anyway. He will try to achieve some kind of method to heal the wound, but this will not be possible when we reach the point of no return. This is 3D food, and I think this is why you're seeing people lose so much weight who wouldn't normally try to lose weight, because I don't think our food any longer is real, and I don't think it has nutrients, at least not all of it. The Michigander says, if you don't have a connection to Mother Earth, you have nothing. I agree with that. And don't say that I'm a pagan because I'm a Christ follower and I say Mother Earth. I don't want to hear that. I eat 5 to 6 pounds of honey a week. Wow! Are you a bear? Are you secretly a bear? Do I have a cryptid bear chilling? That'd be dope. Cause then I wouldn't fear going anywhere. I'd be like, I'm gonna give my bear some honey. My bear's gonna go with me, and my bear's gonna protect me everywhere I go. And I would go right down to Arizona, and I would pray that my bear came with me, and I'd feed it honey the whole way. Anyways, I think that's dope. Honey is awesome. Yeah. I was kidding. That's funny. Okay. Only through peace, the survival of mankind and our planet Earth is possible. Only if we, the human race, are willing to change. Speaking of tummies, you hear my tummy rumbling? I'm not feeding you. Stop being naughty. The Hopi play a key role in the survival of the human race through their vital communion with the unseen forces that hold nature in balance, as an example of a practical alternative to the suicidal man-made system as a fulcrum of the world events. Hold, please. I like that he says suicidal man-made system. How many times have I told you, like, it's insane? People call me insane now because I'm out of the system and it's given me back my sanity being out of it. But you work to pay for the car that you only drive to get to that job, and to pay for the house that you're never in. So none of it makes any sense. If you grew your own food, it wouldn't be a problem. Michigander says honey is the nectar of the gods. You're probably right because they do call it manna sometimes, but I have to say that one of the nectar of the gods that I really enjoy is the juice of the orange. I love me some orange juice like nobody's business. You give me some orange juice and it's like giving somebody else a coffee. I'm happy. I'm like, I do a happy dance. I love me some orange juice. Okay, anyway. Obviously, I don't have any, or I would not be sitting here waxing poetic about orange juice. Okay. The Hopi play a key role in the survival of the human race through their vital communion with the unseen forces that hold nature in balance. As an example of a practical alternative to the suicidal man-made system, and as a fulcrum of world events, the pattern is simple. The whole world will shake and turn red and turn against those who are hindering the Hopi. This is a prophecy related to the biblical version of Armageddon, right? Which may yet come to pass. This prophecy goes on to say that the time will come when common people will become concerned and frustrated because they can no longer live with the hectic world. How many of us? Yeah, hush up. How many of us? Right here. People will become concerned and frustrated because they no longer can live with their hectic world. How many of us have experienced this burnout in the last 4 years? I mean, Rona kind of did people in. It didn't do people in the way they were planning. They wanted it to do in our resolve and our resolution and our spirit, and it did the opposite. We're sick of this system. Like, we don't want to do this anymore. We don't want other people to be in charge of us. Like, we're grown adults, right? We should be able to manage not stealing from each other and not ending each other's lives on a daily basis. I'm telling you, a smaller community is the way to go. I watch that Little House on the Prairie every day now, just wishing that was my life. Not completely, like, not, you know. Okay, they will be particularly against the bloodthirsty policies. If only they knew how true that was. That's not parabolic, like, that's true. That's us, the people will be particularly against the bloodthirsty policies and the deceitfulness of world leaders. And they're literally our whole system, and this is why I have a problem with it. It is built on blood and suffering and lives of Native Americans, of people of color, of Irish Catholics who they brought over, of the Chinese that they made build our do our mining because they were smaller than us. Like, people don't know the whole history. America has had every tribe under slavery at one point or another. And now today we don't call them tribes, we call them nations or nationality, ethnicity, right? But you get what I'm saying. This is why other nations don't like us. And I'm just being honest. The world over, the common man will band together to fight for world peace. The world over, the common man will band together to fight for world peace. This is what I'm ready for. Like, I got my bag packed. I'm ready to go, guys. Whenever you're ready, let's go. Let's stand. And it's nothing. You don't have to do nothing but move positions and then stand firm. That's all you got to do. They will realize that their leaders have failed in accomplishing peace. People in high places will be hunted down like animals, perhaps through. How many people have you seen fall since Rona? And they couldn't announce it at the same time, but the Queen and the Pope were the two biggest. My proposition is that they went at the same time and we weren't told. Whoever is doing this, and I know who it is, I think, whoever is doing this is really taking advantage of the fact that we no longer gather and communicate in groups. They are using AI and the media against us to make it look like certain things are happening that are not happening. But how many leaders have you seen go? I've seen so many local leaders in Ohio and Pennsylvania and West Virginia since Rona started be replaced. People step down, the changing of the guard. That's what's happening when you judge the tribes. Not just that though. It seems, I don't want to say just judging the tribes. I want to say it's like, but you're going against natural law, right? Like, a lot of these laws that we have and a lot of these policies are to protect corporations and to make corporations money. It doesn't have the welfare of the environment or the people involved in that. Like, for example, even recycling plants. You think you're doing a good thing by recycling, and these recycling plants are put in places like the rainforest, because I seen one, like it was in Belize or something. I don't remember exactly where it was. Maybe it was Peru, but they had put this right in a small village, and the recycling plant polluted the water of the small village. So here you think you're doing something good and you're still not. And that's also happens This is also what happens when you outsource everything. Everything is done away, like the trash, everything is done in a place where most common men don't see it every day. So, out of sight, out of mind. The devil knows this. Our adversaries, the corporate man, they know this because they know if we saw things like Trash Island on a daily basis, or if we saw where our trash goes on a daily basis, that we would be horrified and most people would change their ways because most people want to be decent. We might not act it, but most people in our hearts have that desire to be decent. Okay, it says it will get out of control the world over and revolution could erupt. That's where we're at right now, I think. The liberators will come in from the west with great force. They will drop down from the sky like rain. Holy Chernobyls. Are they talking about Russia or China? Because where does West end if you're on? Never mind. They will have no mercy. Oh, we will not get on the housetops to watch. They will shake us by our ears like children who have been bad. This will be the final, decisive battle between good and evil. This battle will cleanse the heart of people and restore our Mother Earth from illness, and the wicked will be got rid of. This, I think, is Armageddon. Armageddon would come after or during, immediately following. Armageddon would be Satan's short season, right? Because you get out of the millennial reign, you get into trouble and war, and then you get into this because it's a short season. And how long is a season? Well, a season's about 4 or 5 months. But biblically, how short would that be, right? So if things are double, I don't know, 4 to 5 months, maybe a couple years at most. At most. So that's to encourage those people who are out there saying, it's gonna be so terrible. Like, it's all right. You'll be okay. Okay. The prophets dare say a peaceful new world order will be drawn in Hopi land. You said what? A peaceful new world order will be drawn in Hopi land. The people will live under one God and leader, which is cool. We will speak one language, the Hopi. The earth will bloom again. Now, also, this is why we were looking into the language, because the Hopi language, the Native American languages, have a lot in common with the Aramaic and the Hebrew that we think Christ spoke. If you look at the root words, they're very similar. Okay, if this fails to materialize, our great creator through natural will do the task according to their plans. It could be total destruction in any form. Only brother and sister will survive to begin a new way of life. Eventually, a gourd full of ashes would be invented, which, if dropped from the sky, would boil the oceans and burn the land, causing nothing to grow for many years. And this is what? This is nuclear fallout. Now, a lot of people say, well, I don't believe in nuclear war. I don't believe that's real. You know what? The biggest problem is listening to military personnel on YouTube who are part and privy of the psyop of their own American people and American citizens. Why it's happening, I don't exactly know. All I know is that it is happening. And it's from people that you trust. They'll say, oh, I used to be in the military. Oh, I used to. That's not a good thing. Like, we used to put those people on pedestals, but that's not a good thing. They have kept so much from the American public. There's a reason those people go postal, some of them. And I'm not saying everyone that joins the military is wicked either. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying we've all been misled about what we are really doing here and what our country does and what our leaders do. And I don't think, like, I'm of the belief, I don't think we should all have to pay for this. I didn't participate. I didn't want to be born into this system. I wanted to live in the woods from the time I was like 5 years old. My parents come and pull me out of the trees and out of the creek in the backyard. And even still, I got to hear, why can't you be more feminine? What does that even mean? I love being a woman. I love being feminine. But to me, that means like getting dirty, putting my hands in the dirt, doing things maybe that the men of the household don't want to do that I'm okay with. I don't know. The judgments and the labels that we put on each other, it reminds me of the old paper dolls we would have as kids. I feel like we put paper dolls over top of each other, like these perspectives and interpretations that we have of each other, instead of just waiting and allowing for that person to unfold naturally and getting to know another person naturally again. We have all these presuppositions stuffed in our minds, like stuffing, like Winnie the Pooh. There I go, waxing poetic again, as if I'm some novelist or poet. Hopi leaders now believe the first two events were the First and Second World Wars, and the gourd full of ashes is the atomic bomb. After the bombing of here, like that's like whether there's nuclear or not, there's definitely atomic bombs. Stop! I'm trying to fix a friend's car. I made you laugh. That's cool. I like to make people laugh. And it's not because somebody said one time, there's a spirit of lunacy too, where you laugh uncontrollably. I was like, the joy people filled with God's Holy Spirit are supposed to be joyful, right? Like we're supposed to be happy. Like regardless of what's going on, no matter how bad my situation is, I still get up the next day and try to do something different that day. I'm going to take all the plants that didn't grow. I'm going to take that dirt. I'm going to make myself another mound and I'm going to try again, darn it. And I'm just going to keep this one closer to the house so nobody can mess with it. But I'm going to keep trying. Never give up, never give in. Stand firm, chin up. What did my mom used to tell me? Chin up, buttercup. She'd say, "You got this." And I added to the end, "And God got you." Right? All right. The final stage, called the Great Day of Purification, which has been described as a, get this, guys, because we see the egg everywhere, as a mystery egg in which the forces of the swastika and the sun, plus a third force symbolized by the color red. Okay, so the swastika, like if we're talking armies, the sun right here could either be Islam or China, and the swastika would still be Nazis, right? Buckle up, buttercup. We going? Are we going on an adventure? I'm ready. I'm so ready to go on an adventure. Has been described as a mystery egg in which the forces of the swastika and the sun, plus a third force symbolized by the color red, the red and the sun is China, but culminate either in total rebirth or total annihilation. We don't know which, but the choice is yours. War and natural catastrophe may be involved. What is Japan's logo? Hold, please. Do we know what Japan's flag looks like? And why are they so quiet? Where have they been? I heard them begging Trump for help right before Rona started, their masks on, and they were all saying Trump, Trump, Trump. And somebody in the RT chat said, "Hey, their set looks like ours." And RT was removed from my computer. I can't find it on YouTube. I can't get RT. I told you, people don't want me to know certain things. Japan's flag is the red sun. Okay, and China's is all red and yellow, right? Let's take a look at China's real quick. Hold, please. Thanks for waiting, guys. I just want to see. Okay, and the Antichrist team, they like red, white, and black. I'm telling you, they got something up with Japan. We haven't heard much from them recently. A red field with 5 golden stars. 5 stars. There's that number again. Okay, I'm going to have to do a little research on my own after this video and look into those flags. All right. The choice is yours. The degree of violence will be determined by the degree of inequity caused among the peoples of the world and in the balance of nature. In this crisis, rich and poor will be forced to struggle as equals in order to survive. I also received that message. It's also in Revelation. I found out once I started reading the Bible after I had a few strange visions and repetitive dreams. But there are many people talking about the great equalizer. Even Madonna said it. I don't want to give her credit for stuff, but she did. Okay, that it will be very violent is now almost taken for granted among traditional Hopi. But man still may lessen the violence by correcting his treatment of nature and fellow man. And this is why I say it's so important. What can you do? Let's be solution-centered and not problem-focused. What can you do? Just in your daily habits, man. Recycle, even though I'm not, try to do these things local. Recycle, use less gas, a lot less gas. I know you don't want to hear it. Live in a place you want to live. Relocate to that place that you want to be, but use a lot less gas. Get a bicycle. I don't care. Get a skateboard. Get a pair of roller skates. When you have to go to the corner store for milk and eggs, Walk your butt there. It's good for you. You'll like it, I promise. Eventually, it is good for your spirit and it clears your head too. Those are just basics. Use less gas, recycle, be good to your fellow man, smile again. When you walk past somebody, smile at them, nod your head. If you are a man and you're wearing a hat, tip your hat for the ladies. Open the door for the ladies. Because I'll tell you a little secret, guys. When you treat a woman like a lady, she behaves as a lady. Okay? When you treat a man like he is the star in your life, like he hung the moon, he will behave like a man. In most cases, some people are a lost cause, and the only one that can help them is themselves and the Most High Creator Maker God. The man made system now destroying the Hopi is deeply involved in similar violations throughout the world. The devastating reversal predicted in the prophecies is part of the natural order. If those who thrive from that system, its money, and its laws, can manage to stop destroying the Hopi, then many may be able to survive the day of purification and enter a new age of peace. But if no one is left to continue the Hopi way, then the hope for such an age is in vain. Okay, so as I said, replace Hopi way, since most of us are not Hopi, replace that Hopi way with the natural way, with nature's way, laws of nature, natural law. I don't care how you do it, just replace it, okay? Because America is a corporate country, and we are so used to being that type of citizen that we are indoctrinated and we are apathetic and we have a severe amount of cognitive dissonance. I was in severe cognitive dissonance. I said every day, I love animals, I love my dogs, as I would sit down and eat a hamburger in front of my dogs. Now, I'm not judging you or what you eat, okay? I'm using my own cognitive dissonance, my own double mindedness as an example to maybe help you somewhere in your life. We're all at a different point in our walk in life, in our spiritual evolution. And so I am not here to judge you. I am the last person that can do that. I leave that to the Most High, to the Creator. That is not my job. He gave the kingdom to Christ. He will judge the earth and everyone on it. So I stay in my lane. Okay. I'm not judging you. The forces we must face are formidable. Formidable. But the only alternative is annihilation. Still, the man made system cannot be corrected by any means that requires one's will to be forced upon another. For that is the source of the problem. Haven't I been saying this since the creation of my channel and for months now? And they're telling us now you don't have to listen to me. Now there's an author and a group of wise old men saying one's will to be forced upon another, for that is the source of the problem. If people are to correct themselves and their leaders, the gulf between the two will disappear. To accomplish this, one can only rely on the energy of truth itself. This approach, which is the foundation of the Hopi way of life, is the greatest challenge a mortal can face. Few are likely to accept it. This is true. I can see this already. Again, this shows in how many people are willing to even listen to the information on this video. But once peace is established on this basis and our original way of life is allowed to flourish, we will be able to use our inventive capacity wisely to encourage rather than to threaten, to benefit everyone rather than giving advantage to a few at the expense of others. Concern for all living things will far surpass personal concerns, bringing greater happiness that could formerly be realized. Then all things shall enjoy lasting harmony. All right. Regardless of what time it is, I'm going to have to end this one here. Now, I'm going to decide, I haven't decided yet if I'm going to jump to back to finish the Holy Spirit first or finish this, because there are some current events that I would also like to decode for you guys. So watch for uploads. If you want, turn the notifications on. It doesn't bother me if you don't. Just come back to the channel because I try to post something daily, especially with current events being what they are. And this book is important. It's important that we take in the rest of the information. But right now, today I'm going to go cook that omelet for my son that I said I was going to cook yesterday, because yesterday he had to go to the dentist. Proud to say that he let mom make the appointment and he actually went. So he overcame a little fear of his, and I'm very pleased with him for that. You guys have a blessed day. Please pray that this omelet is yummy for him. And thank you, Michigander, for keeping me company. It was awesome having you here. I don't think anyone else popped in, or I'd say hi to them. Nope, just prospering with sickle cell was here. All right, guys. I will talk to you again. Just watch the channel for any updates and have a blessed day. We'll talk soon. Bye.